welcome to a new Battle of the Ports Remastered. This time we are remastering Seibu Kaihatsu's Raiden. The original video did have a voiceover and did run at 60 frames per second, but only contained 10 versions of the game. This remastered version is now in 1080p rather than 720p and contains 13 versions of Raiden. Raiden was released first to Japanese arcades in April 1990 and was developed by Seibu Kaihatsu. The game's story takes place in the year 2090, when an alien species known as the Crystals invaded Earth. Pilots assume the roles of the vanquished Crystal Defense pilot duo, taking control of two state-of-the-art Fighting Thunders aircraft to defeat the Crystals and save the Earth. The game was conceived after Dynamite Duke, Seibu Kaihatsu's prior title. During development, the game was designed as a vertically scrolling shooter due to the popularity of the genre at the time. Cheaper arcade hardware had to be used due to the financial constraints caused by Dynamite Duke's poor sales. Although Seibu doubted Raiden's success, it managed to sell 17,000 arcade units worldwide, helping to recuperate the company's investment through word of mouth. The title became a critical success, with its most lauded features being the graphics, music, gameplay, and cooperative play. For a 1990 arcade game, this sure does look nice. The very first port of Raiden, known as Raiden Densetsu, came to the Mega Drive on July 6, 1991, on what was back then considered a large 8MB ROM cartridge. This port was developed by Micronet, a company known for shoddy low-quality games, but this is not. Some sources say that some of the original Seibu staff were involved in the development. Considering Micronet's track record before and since this game, I'm willing to believe that. The graphics though may all be by Micronet, as they have a cheap look to them. On the plus side, everything is here, just looking a little worse. What is not worse though is the music. The soundtrack on the Mega Drive may be better than the arcade original, depending upon your taste. Sound effects are a little ropey, mind you. The next port was to the Fujitsu FM Towns on November 1st, 1991. Unlike the Mega Drive version, this port was developed by Kindle Image Develop, better known as KID. Well, what we have here is basically the arcade game at home and then some. This FM Town version contains the normal arcade mode, as well as 2 caravan type modes. And just listen to that kick-ass arranged soundtrack. Unfortunately, this version of Raiden is stupidly difficult. I mean, really stupid. Even on easy, it's harder than the arcade standard mode. PC Engine was next, with a release developed by AI Company Limited on November 29th, 1991, just a week after the FM Towns release. Considering that the PC Engine was an 8-bit console, no, it wasn't 16-bit before anyone bothers to write that in the comments. Do your research, TurboGrafx 16 fanboys. This has some pretty good visuals and music. Sure, it's more flickery than the Mega Drive and is missing some details, but overall it's a very competent port. It's just a shame no effort was made to include the parallax scrolling. So far, all the ports have been handled by reasonable developers, but on November 29th, 1991, the Super Famicom got the first shitty port. They do get worse though, thanks to the almost always incompetent Micronix. This also came on an 8MB ROM, just like the Mega Drive version, but you'd be hard pressed to think so. Graphically, it looks okay, better than the Mega Drive, but once it starts moving, the game just falls apart. The frame rate is awful, as if running on a home micro such as the Amiga or ST. It slows down too. There's also so much detail missing from every stage, as well as missing enemies and different enemy patterns. The sound effects and music are also terrible, as I'm sure you can hear. Overall, the Super Famicom port of Raiden is the worst to come out of Japan. April 2nd, 1992 saw the release of the PC Engine Super CD-ROM release, titled Super Raiden. This port was developed by the same developer behind the original HuCard release. So what's different about this one over the HuCard original? Well, you could say it seems a little easier due to slower and less bullets on screen, so a tweak to the difficulty curve. It now also features some sound effects taken directly from the arcade game, as well as 2 additional stages and of course, the beefed up CD soundtrack. some point in the early 90s, Raiden was ported to the Atari Lynx, but never fully completed. Stages 4, 5, 7 and 8 were removed in this version, and they're replaced with a stage 5 and a mix of stages 2 and 3, resulting in this version of Raiden being 5 stages long. The power-up system is also odd. The P item gives you the 3-way shot and both regular missiles and homing missiles. Picking up a missile item will deactivate this, and if you pick up the laser while having the 3-way Vulcan, you'll have a laser Vulcan mix of some sort. And you can fire your laser beam while 2 spread Vulcan shots are fired on the sides. This can actually be a pretty cool addition to the game, but nothing good lasts forever. As soon as you start a new stage, your powered up level is reset back to stock. Why on earth did the developers think this was a good idea? At some point in 1994, Imagitech Design, not exactly a great developer, got the license to port Raiden to Western home platforms. Here we are with the DOS version. Upon first glance, this seems like a pretty reasonable port, but the more you play, the more the ugliness rears. First off, this is a DOS game, so why can't we have music and sound effects simultaneously? I'll tell you why, because Imagitech Design are lazy feckers, and based this upon their cancelled Amiga port. The next issue is the collision detection. Basically your entire ship and then some is the hitbox. Not cool. Finally, there's no continue option. It's such a shame as this game had potential, but sadly it's not what it could have been. Next up is the Imagitech Design port to the Amiga AGA system that the DOS version was based upon. This actually went unreleased despite being completed. Only a demo version of the unreleased game can be found online, however it only contains the 4th level of the game. The full game has yet to be found and dumped. The game is a lot smoother than the DOS version and has an aspect ratio more akin to that of the arcade game. The handling of the ship is too loose though. The game has a very different feel to all other versions so far. Could that be because this is just a demo? Who knows, but if the game did release like this, that would have been a mistake. Overall though, it is a nice attempt and even manages to scroll smoothly. unreleased version of the Atari Falcon version can be found on the net. Just like the DOS and Amiga ports, this was developed by Imagitech Design and only the first 3 stages are here. This is the worst of the Imagitech Design ports so far. I understand that the game is incomplete, but I bet they'd still release it in this state. The game is just broken. Enemies don't follow the correct movement patterns, the speed of the bullets is way too fast, the bomb acts like a small bomb clearing everything on screen, actually that's a good point, and the music is crap, but that's to be expected due to the Falcon's sound hardware. The Atari Falcon version of Raiden may have never been released, but Imagitech Design did port it to the Atari Jaguar on December 15, 1994, practically 3 years after the first port to the Mega Drive. Can the 64-bit Jaguar version be better than the 3-year-old 16-bit Mega Drive release? Well, in some ways yes, and in others no. The game certainly looks nice in most areas, but it is missing a lot of the finer background details, such as the 2 guys running across the bridge at the beginning of stage 1. Some may say that the sidebar is ugly, and some may say that the music is turd, but what I noticed is that the game still has a whiff of home micro quality about it, just like an Atari ST or Amiga game, such as the naff boss explosions or some of the animation or lack of it. It is to be expected though, considering that's what the developer grew up on. Overall, the Atari Jaguar Raiden is not bad at all, but I'd still take the FM Towns, PC Engine Super CD or PlayStation versions over this one any day of the week. Seibu Kaihatsu actually developed the port of Raiden to the PlayStation under the title of Raiden Project. This was first released in Japan on January 27, 1995. The disc contains Raiden 1 and 2, both with arranged or arcade soundtracks and difficulty settings. The port of Raiden 1 is fairly good and could be mistaken for the arcade game, however it isn't arcade perfect, but close enough that the average gamer wouldn't notice. We also get a Tate mode and a very ugly stretched mode for those weirdos who like stretching game aspect ratios. I think this is a great port, but the arranged soundtrack is rather weak compared to the FM Towns and PC Engine versions. Between 2002 and 2004, there was a variety of Raiden ports to mobile phones using the Java platform. This version I'm showing you was by Com2U. Sadly, this is not the best and is only partly working via emulation, hence no sound, so I'm using the audio from the Mega Drive game dubbed over this footage. The best versions of Mobile Raiden were on Japanese mobiles, but as with 99% of Japanese mobile games, that is lost forever. Still, at least it's nice to see some sort of mobile version running. This version only contains the first 4 stages, while the second part contains the later 4 stages. For the mobile game, it plays reasonably well and even looks okay. Better than the Atari Lynx version anyway. Let's take a look at all those versions of Raiden running side by side.